Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I'm your host, Rich Owens, and joining me on, let's be honest, a pretty grey and dismal morning. It's the FM team. They're here to brighten my day. It's the United City FM. It's Jebba Roo. Kev, how are we, pal?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Can I just pull the curtain back for everyone? Second time on the intro, this one. We've messed up the first time, or technology did. You were far funnier the first time round, mate. That gag was amazing. I'm so sad that nobody else is going to hear it, but, you know, it is what it is. It's one of those things. But, yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to be here. I hope you guys are well, but I'm doing great. Really looking forward to the next hour or so.
Lovely, lovely. We're happy to have you, as always. Last time we did this, because technology let us down, last time we did this, I made some kind of reference to Jeb of having a beard trim and looking really handsome. You are still looking really handsome, Jeb. How's it going?
It's weird. Like, my beard's not been this short for a long time. Like I said, that it's not there. Like, I can't do nervous like grips of my beard that I normally do on, obviously, probably for video. The video watches audio. I normally pull my beard as I'm talking, or just as I keep going along. I don't do that anymore, so I need to find. I'm not going to say other things to pull because let's just take us down a different route in the podcast.
Wow, this is taking a turn, isn't it?
Let's go, Rich. Tell us about the show today.
Football Manager, yay!
Yeah, let's all find about what Jed isn't going to be pulling during today's show, because we have to. If I have to learn how to age restrict things, I'm going to be furious. This is the thing. Today, it's a really, really weird show because, again, another exciting look behind the podcasting curtain. Sometimes we plan ahead for this podcast, and I'd set the fellas some homework this week. We had some ideas, some things to do. We may revisit another time, so I won't give too much information later. I'd set some homework, and I was like, right, that will make a fun record on Saturday morning. And then last week, SI went, no, Rich, no, you're not going to make that episode for your podcast because we're going to release the winter update. We're just going to fire that out. We're going to change Football Manager. We're going to make a whole bunch of changes. And it would feel daft if we kind of didn't spend a good amount of time talking about that, about what's going on, about what's changed, what hasn't changed. Is it for the better? Mostly, yes. Yes, it is. I've got the list up in front of me. For a point of reference because it's around that time of year, isn't it? We talked on a previous podcast about how Football Manager can sometimes feel a little bit, in terms of the timing of things, it can feel a little bit strange because as we're now in March, as we record this episode, we're in March, and they've just released kind of the winter update. So the season in real life is nearly over, but in the cycle of FM, the game's been out for around 4 months now. So it feels like the right time to be making these big updates and big changes to the game. In terms of the main ones, I've got a nice little list up in front of me here, as well as your standard kind of stability and crash issues that they will always look to improve as the cycle of the game goes on. Quite a few different bits and pieces here, in terms of the match engine, and I think that's the biggest fix or the biggest amount of changes I've noticed so far. Just to give a brief update of some of the bits and pieces they've looked at. Fixes to reduce mistakes from bad touches in certain areas of the pitch. Defenders not preparing correctly for crosses in certain situations. Improvements to defender reactions to long through balls. That's a big one. Tweaks to make attacking players move quicker to support counter-attacks. Improvements to how AI managers use different midfielder role combinations, improvements to central defenders and defensive midfielder positioning from long goal kicks, improvements to how attacking wide players track back when defending, fixes for defending wide indirect free kicks from the edge of the area. That, for my saves, is a big one. And then it's just little pieces of like data information as well. So headers, one statistic now only counts for contested headers. Other little bits and pieces, developmental loans for AI teams. They've changed bits and pieces there as well. But the big ones mostly seem to be match engine based. And of course, you've got all of your kind of player updates. You've got, attribute upgrades and downgrades. Got whole loads of improvements and updated facts and figures for the main basis of the game itself. Having all spent a little bit of time in the game since the patch has come out. Jeb, looking at some of the match engine fixes they've talked about there, is this anything that you've kind of noticed having a big impact on things that you've been doing, the way you've been playing the game, things you've been noticing?
Sorry to ruin this. No, I think the issue is. Mike,
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Yeah.
Great podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And spoiler alert. We'll do a little save update probably after this. But I've been promoted with Pescara, so we're in Serie A now. I didn't get a chance to buy any defenders because I didn't have any money to. And my defenders have been absolutely useless since I've gone to Serie A. We have conceded 29 goals in 11 games, including 7 against one team and 6 against another. So I can't see many defensive improvements just yet. Like, I think maybe playing a bit differently, maybe playing a different save, I might see that on that way. I think the stuff that's been added into draft mode is quite exciting. Finally. There's nobody has to unpause the draft every single round. Nobody has to do that anymore. Apparently, that's finally been fixed. We'll find out tomorrow. And then I think the upgrades and downgrades of various players as well makes it very interesting. My favourite, Polina, has been upgraded to 38 million rather than being 14 million. Yeah, very sad days. But then a lot of players have been downgraded quite significantly as well. I think Jamie Vardy at 5 million, Calvert-Lewin at 15 million. That's going to make some drafts very interesting, particularly with Premier League drafts that are very popular, obviously. It's a community. But I like to see how these defender reactions, and one of the other ones that I did see was there's less frequent goalkeeper bloopers. They actually even called them bloopers as well. I played a little bit through my save last night off stream, and I had 2 goalkeeper bloopers with my really... To be fair, he's quite an outstanding goalkeeper, but he made some horrific mistakes for me, so I'm not sure how much they've improved there. Like I said, I think I haven't played enough of the winter update to give a full rounded opinion on it, and I think because I've just been promoted and I don't have a lot of money and I don't have an established defence, I can't really see those defensive improvements. But somebody who has played a bit more than me and he's got a bit more defenders, I guess Kev, probably some more.
Yeah, ultimately, I was really, really happy with the list that we've got of potential things that they've been looking at, even if, ultimately not all of them come to fruition as well as we'd like. Maybe we'll find out over the prolonged period of time over the next few months. But I'm really happy with that list because they're obviously identifying a lot of things that the community that we are part of as the content creators on the likes of Twitch and YouTube, we've been talking about for a little while, and some of us quite vehemently against how the game is currently playing, etc. So I'm happy about that. In itself, I mean, anything that deals with any form of defenders being stupid, I will be absolutely delighted with. For myself, I've played a little bit over the last couple of days on the new patch, and I think there are some improvements that I've seen. I think that I don't feel like my game is performing any differently, or my tactic is performing any differently for myself, particularly. I think before the patch, I was getting sort of 1-goal wins, 1-0, 2-1, that sort of thing. And that kind of continued. So it's still playing the same. I think I have noticed a couple of defensive improvements, better quality defending occasionally, but... And there is still a but, unfortunately. At least a couple of times on my stream yesterday, there were still a couple of goals that I conceded, which were literally down to defenders watching attackers do their thing. And that's the thing above everything else that just drives me to distraction, is just my defenders watch threaded balls through the middle or over the top or around the sides, and my defenders go, oh, look, ball went over there. And the attackers are going, yay, woo! And it's still happening, to my mind. Whether it happens as regularly, we'll find out over time, over the next few weeks as we play more. So I think there's still some of that. I'm not totally convinced that a month from now, the community will be going, oh, well, that's all great now. It's all sorted. We've got no problems and it's all perfect. Why didn't they do this before? I still think it will be tinged with... It's not still quite right, but there's little improvements, maybe. But As Jeb was saying, drafting terms as well, there's been some interesting changes in there. I ran a community draft on my channel on Thursday for the United City community, which was great. And that thing of being the host of the draft and every 5 minutes going, I need to unpause it. I need to unpause it. I need to unpause it for whatever reason, because I sneezed or whatever it is that was setting it off. I don't know, but it drove me nuts. So if they've changed that, then that's great. But here's the rub, gents. On the evening after the update came out, I was in, I believe it was Steve Hood's channel, watching him do some drafting on the rankings rivals or the rival rankings, whichever way around that's supposed to be, the team event that's going on at the moment. I think I still saw it pausing a lot. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I did. And I think they were on the new patch. So we'll see. I remain slightly guarded on that one. But overall, as I say, the thing that delights me more than anything else at this moment is that they are identifying the things that I would like them to change, even if they don't get it totally right at this point. You'd imagine that in the next iteration of the game completely, surely they'd iron some of these things out in a better way. So that's kind of where I sit at the moment. But maybe there are improvements. We'll see over the next few weeks a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. It's at the time of recording this, we record this Saturday mornings, Saturday early afternoon. We've all, as I say, we've all spent a little bit of time in the match engine kind of post update. I found it. I was streaming on Thursday night myself. Looking down that list, I think I noticed, and we were talking about this on stream. It's a tricky one because you don't want to be too overly analytical. It's very, very easy when you start playing any kind of game that's been updated. It's really, really easy to look at every single mistake that's made or every slight tweak and every slight change, and just go, "Oh, that's the update. The update's broken everything." I'm managing in retro database. I've got my Inter Milan save. I'm in my second season now. I've built a fantastic team who last time I streamed on Monday night, or maybe even last Thursday, I put a screenshot up of Ronaldo in that database. Scored 9 goals in one game against Fiorentina. 9 goals in one game. Didn't even get man of the match. Didn't even pick up man of the match, but scored 9. And you start looking at that, you think, well, it's broken. He's the best striker in the world, and he's going to break all the records this year. And it's going to be fantastic to watch. It's going to be really, really, really great fun. Thursday night when I streamed, he had slowed down comparatively. He'd slowed down loads. He still scored a bundle of goals over the course of the stream. But you sat there thinking to yourself, is this because they've patched? Is this the only way? Is this the only way they realized they could stop Ronaldo in the retro database was to patch the game entirely, victimizing me personally? Is this the only way it could be done? Because Maldini couldn't stop him, Cannavaro couldn't stop him, Lilian Thuram couldn't stop him. So SI have gone, don't worry, boys, we've got this. It's hard to say. It is really, really hard to say. A lot of the changes that they've made in terms of things like, for example, the way defenders are defending kind of, long through balls, that was a really important part of my tactic. So I had a wide midfielder who was playing really, really great long through balls to a player like Ronaldo, who's got all the traits to, break the back line, plays on the shoulder of the last man. Just the perfect combination there. And I found that to be significantly less effective on Thursday night as it had been previously. I mean, to the point where it seemed to be the system that my team were playing around. I've got a wide midfielder on support who was looking to get the balls over the top into Ronaldo, and that was where a lot of his goals were coming from. We had a highlight in the stream earlier in the week where the wide midfielder tries the long ball over the top. It bounced through to the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper played it long. My defense won the header, worked the ball straight back out to the wide midfielder, who tried to do the exact same thing again, overhit the pass again, went to the goalkeeper, back to the defenders, who worked the ball back out to the wide midfielder. Third time of asking, played the pass better, and Ronaldo scored. And that was all the same highlight. That took place in about 30 to 35 seconds of in-game gameplay. And it's well, this is what works. Let's just carry on doing this until it works. And the patches that they've made, the changes they've made to the defensive awareness, to how effective that tactic is not as effective anymore. So for somebody like myself, I'm now going to have to go away, look at that tactic that was very effective and rework how I play. It's the tactic that won me the last FMT versus the community draft. which we are also recording tomorrow night. So maybe I'm going to have to make changes, and I don't want to make changes because I thought I was finally good at the game. So that's a frustrating one for me personally.
This does happen quite a lot, though, doesn't it? I remember this being the case at this point in the FM22 cycle for me. I had a brilliant 4-3-1-2 formation that was winning me tournaments. I won the Winter Cup and all sorts of other bits and pieces around it in draft mode, and it was working out. And then all of a sudden, it just fell through the floor around this sort of time. And then, if you remember, for the second half of the cycle last time around, it became that 3-striker formation that was just obliterating everybody draft mode wise and stuff. So I think there's always a point in the game cycle where they bring out certain things. And this is what we are asking them to do, after all. We've been asking them for the last 4 months, please rebalance this, please restructure this. And then, of course, if you're, Rich, you were saying specifically that your type of tactic was very much designed of those long through balls through to your striker. Ronaldo's got the pace to get past defenders and over the top, and you were exploiting the match ending. I was doing that a little bit at this point a year ago in that 4-3-1-2 with the shadow striker, and they were working brilliantly well at that moment, and it worked for me. And then it changes, and that's the thing about FM23 will be the same as every other year, is that at this point we draft tomorrow evening as we currently sit here and talk in the FMT versus community, and none of us really know whether our drafting tactics are going to work tomorrow evening or not at all. It's because the last time I drafted was Thursday afternoon before the patch came out, and so who knows what it's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be fun finding out, but it could be complete chaos for the next few weeks trying to figure out something that works again, maybe.
Exactly.
You guys have drafting tactics. Sorry.
I do.
Mine's just the same. Like I said, I know I've won tournaments and things like that, but mine's just the same. I think there's a couple of things that I have noticed, like thinking on a little bit further. The most frustrating animation that there is in the game seems to have disappeared, and that's where a defender gets the ball and he puts his foot on it and stands there, and then he passes to another defender and they put their foot on the ball, and it just goes along your back line. They all do. It's like, what you do? Stop doing that. Like, you've got control of the ball. You don't need to stop it dead like that. I've noticed that. I think that's gone away a little bit. And then the other one was my fullbacks seem to be scoring more or getting into goal scoring positions, and like I said, my tactics haven't adjusted. Nothing's changed. I've kind of kept things the same, but my fullbacks are now getting into goal scoring positions, which was a lot less frequent until the patch. But that just might be they've evolved a little bit more now that they're up in Serie A. But maybe those are the interesting things I've noticed, but just not really noticed until I thought about it a little bit further. Thanks for giving me some time to do that.
Anytime. It's what we do. I was going to say, I've noticed my most frustrating animation, again, your fullbacks or your wingbacks picking up the ball and then just walking 2 or 3 yards and then just turning 180 and just standing there like, you can't tackle me, you can't do it, I bet you can't, you've tackled me and now you're breaking. This is embarrassing for me.
I won't bother running back with you or anything. I'll just watch you go because I'm just a bit embarrassed, and it's you know, have a go, see what you can do.
Exactly. You, sir, have called my bluff. Congratulations.
It's nice to see my fullbacks putting crosses in, like, or putting attacking moves on the right side of things, because they used to be really good at stopping in the on the touchline and just playing a perfect ball through to the opposing striker to score. I don't know how many goals conceded that way. Hopefully that's gone away as well, actually.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. That would be nice. That would be nice, because defensive errors are something that I think everybody who's played the game this year has had some kind of experience with. Not to say that they don't happen in real life. There's a wonderful clip from I think from the MLS earlier this week where Austin FC, just their defender just turned around and plays a 10-yard back pass to an opposition striker who's just very, very offside, who then just turns around and scores. So it's not to say these things don't happen in real life, but maybe to the extent they were happening in the match engine seemed a little bit excessive sometimes. So smarter defenders is always going to be a bonus. So in terms of the PvP landscape of Football Manager, I think that's about to change quite dramatically moving forward too. We were talking last week on podcast about how McKinsey's opinions on it, his plug in and play and just have a good time. Obviously, you've got people that take it more seriously, and as we've said previously, there's no right or wrong way of playing the game. Everyone is entitled to do so. with some of the bigger PvP competitions coming up, like at the time of recording, next weekend, it's going to be the next installment of the FM playoffs. It's playoffs weekend. We've gone through 2 paths of the playoffs. It's a stacked field. It's going to be a really interesting competition regardless. Things like the winter update are now surely going to be having a really, really big impact on how people are playing, how people are setting up. I mean, Jeb, as somebody who's like heavily involved, do you see this being a much more kind of open competition compared to previous playoffs?
I don't know actually. It's some people just always win, and I think some people are just serial winners. They find a way to go through with it. I think there'll be adjustments to a couple of systems. There'll be adjustments to draft plans. I think more than anything else. Some of those players that were affordable, so cheap and everything, are now very expensive. And some of the players that were very expensive are now very cheap as well, but they've obviously had attribute drops as well. It's finding those who's had these big boosts and who hasn't had these big boosts. I think that'll be where the drafting scene goes. I think free kicks, corners, they've not been touched again. I mean, I think I made the complaint in my first 2 or 3 games that I did on stream on Thursday night. I conceded 3 corners, and I don't usually concede from corners, so I was like, they've not nerfed it. They've boosted corners again. It's happened horribly. So we'll see. I think corner routines seem to always be the one that people look at in drafting, and near post corners. I don't know how many times we go to a highlight on the playoffs or path to the playoffs or anything, and the pundit will just go, "It's a near post corner. You don't need to see it. Everyone's seen them like 4 times already today." So I think that's where I'd love to see like a nerfing, or obviously set pieces just in general just need a little bit, because the amount of frustration that people get when you change those players around, but your best header is now 5'4" or something along those lines on your back post. You've got a small striker instead of a tall striker, but it just doesn't adapt to change to that way. Hopefully an FM24 thing that comes around. I think for the PvP drafting scene, I think corners, free kicks, if they can just be made a little harder to score from, it'll make the drafting scene a little bit better. Speaking as somebody who won a drafting competition with 4 near post headers in the group stages, so you got to play the meta.
You have
exactly. Jebru has identified the problem, and it's him, as it turns out. Yeah. I think we've all found ourselves on the end of those. I had a great set of games for the neutral in my qualifier for the FM Super League last month against McTyler, who's gone on to qualify for the whole competition. So congratulations to him. Against somebody who has got a very, very effective set piece routine from corners. And my Virgil van Dijk could do nothing against it. And I've heard good things about Virgil van Dijk, and it's the first time I've ever drafted him. And he just went, "No, sorry, mate, I've got no idea. I don't know what to do. There's just some big Norwegian lad on the near post, and I can't do anything about it. Sosboss, is that going to be a problem?" It was, as it turns out, it was a massive problem for me. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, Kev, especially about things like people have been asking for things like a set piece creator moving forwards. Is that something that you would be hoping to see yourself in future FMs?
To a point, yes. I think that there needs to be an overhaul of the set piece creation and how balanced they all are and what impact they can have on the game. I think that the challenge is the more complicated you make it, the more involved you make it, the more you make it a possibility that somebody can find a way to break it, is in a bizarre kind of way, I think. So I think that they've got to be really careful about how they redo it. But I think for me, it is just, if you can be a little bit more creative on how you set your set pieces up and what you're asking your players to do, but in game, they've also balanced it so it has less of an opportunity to succeed overall, then I think we're on to a winner potentially. They've got to find that balance between them. But yeah, in my round of stuff that I was hoping for FM23, one of those things was, please do something with the set piece routines and the setup of it and the way that we can impact it but balance it in the game in terms of how much of an impact it can have on the overall game. So
Mm.
yeah, if they do it, if they figure out a way, then I'd be more than happy with that. It's that random thing. Whenever I'm drafting at the moment, I always feel incredibly frustrated when somebody scores a near post corner header against me, and incredibly apologetic when I get one too. But we're just having to both play it, because if we don't, the other one is, and they get the advantage. So you have to do it in that sense. And as soon as that can change, I think ultimately the better it'll be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we've looked at in some of the patch notes, they've identified the effectiveness of, as they say, the kind of those free kicks, indirect free kicks, kind of from the edge of the area. So those free kicks that you seem to see quite a lot, kind of in the gap between kind of the edge of the 18-yard box and like the corner flag, in those wide areas. Because for me, in saves, and this is saves I've had across the board this year, so from Mexico, which we don't talk about, all the way up to like my Inter Milan save. If you have a free kick, if you win a free kick in those areas, for the most part, they're almost as effective as penalties that I've seen. A lot of it is back post headers from those wide free kicks. Nobody knows how to deal with them, and it gives you a very, very, very good goal scoring opportunity 9 times out of 10. So the fact that that's been identified and those have been nerfed, and or those have been the way that the AI defends those has improved. Hopefully it's one of those small changes. It's balance, isn't it? I think that's what we all kind of keep coming back to, just to level the playing field a little bit, just to balance it out. Because again, it speaks volumes to the way that people approach the game very, very differently as well. Which again is one of the beauties of a game like Football Manager, is that everybody plays it differently. You'll speak to people who, when they're creating tactics, they're wanting to replicate tactics, do it in a certain way. Like shout out friend of the pod, all round great human being, Aaron, RDF Tactics. He wants to replicate real life football and that's what he does exceptionally well. His tactic videos are brilliant fun to watch, and super interesting, super educational, really, 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 really good stuff. You also speak to people like, I remember drafting with Bust the Net with Daljit in an older in an older FM. And he was talking to Tony Jameson about it, and the way he was explaining his tactics were, this is how I set up, and this is what it does to the match engine. So rather than trying to replicate a tactic in real life or have the team set up in a certain way, they're playing the game in order to exploit or get the most out of the match engine and the limitations that has and the way that it plays. So something like a set piece creator is, when it comes out, there will be people that are trying to put together, really intricate, passing moves from, corners or free kicks, whatever it may be, maybe dummy runs, that kind of thing. And there's also going to be people who are like, right, what is the most effective way that I can come up with that will score me goals from these set pieces based on the match engine limitations? Jeb, there's been talk in the past of, there was a lot of talk earlier this year about the state of the match engine in general. Are you somebody that sees potentially an overhaul for match engine on a wider scale moving forwards?
I think the match engine's getting better, and it is improving game to game. I think it's just people associate the match engine with the animations, and it's two completely separate things. And I think bringing them both together is a very complicated. I think people talked about the spaghetti of code that they will need to go through to rip it all apart and start again. And it is a massive, massive job for what essentially is quite a small studio. The game studio is relatively small when you compare it to the EAs of this world and the bigger games. And they're releasing a game every single year. And I think I reiterated this when there was problems with the initial release. It's a small studio. They release a game every year. They don't have time to catch up in between, because they've also got to change the game that's currently out and then prepare for the next game. So almost this update here, I think there'll be one more update, if I remember correctly, how it works going forward, and then they need to focus on the next game. And obviously they're focused on the next game already. Looking at corners, I was like, well, while you were chatting about it, I was just like, right, I couldn't remember. I saw the statistic. To be fair, Fulham and Tottenham have scored 10 goals from corners this season. It's the highest rate of corners, and there's also a famous quote from Mourinho where it's like, I don't know any country in the world other than England where a corner is applauded more than a goal, because that's how much the Premier League takes corners seriously. But I think, yeah, it's still 10 goals over an entire season. It's not 4 goals in a game or something like that from corners, unless you're Brentford against Liverpool. I mean, I think I saw that was disastrous. I shouldn't have reminded myself about that. speaking about Virgil van Dijk there, he didn't have a good time either. So there we are. Indirect free kicks on the outside of the box as well against Real Madrid. There's another one. Right, never mind.
Don't do this to yourself, Jed.
Yeah, I know. God. Oh. We're playing Man
we've
United
entered
and
the
Real
therapy
Madrid
past the
this week.
podcast.
Oh no, yeah, exactly right. But yeah, I think the match engine is steadily improving. I think that, like I said, the two separate things: the match engine and the animations and the graphical input as well. The match engine can only keep with the times and the trends of football as well as much as it can. I think, like we said about set piece create, it'd be a great thing to have, but it needs to be simple, because what Football Manager needs to be is a simple, approachable game. It's it's a daunting thing for any new player to come into, and it doesn't need to be more daunting. And like, some people just want to sit on the couch with a laptop on the belly or on the lap, or just playing the game, while other people watch stuff on TV, or you've got something on in the background. That's where probably about 80% of the player base is. And there's nice people. I was going to say elite people. It's like, wow, that'd be very elitist of us. There's elite people like us three who play on stream to the masses. But no.
I don't think I've ever been called elite at anything. I'll take it.
yeah, to podcasts and stuff. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's getting that balance, so it's still that approachable game that they sell millions of copies of every single year, and that's how it should be. So it's that fine balance.
Yeah, it's really worth pointing out that fact that actually the match engine is doing pretty good. It's how the graphics engine can cope with actually showing a lot of those things that needs to improve, I think, at this point. It's been a lot of conversation in recent times, hasn't it, about do we want FIFA style graphics? And I don't think we do. I think there's sort of middle ground somewhere between what we've currently got and where somewhere like FIFA is. But when you get the F1 Manager game that came out that looked so amazing in terms of its graphical quality, you think they've got to be able to implement certain aspects of that, even if it's just like little cut scenes of going to your manager on the touchline, pointing at something and shouting at it if your defenders have just let something happen, just little things that might improve the quality of how you get drawn into your game a little bit, that sort of stuff.
Brick walls, burger vans, and the other one I can think of, the Holt end at Villa Park, because that stand just makes no sense when you see it in the game, because it's just this giant anomaly on its own. But yeah, those they're like easy fixes as well. Just make those. Just make it like part of the crowd, or more crowd in that corner. Just get rid of those brick walls, burger vans, and the bins, or the one ambulance in the corner, or the various little annoyances that you start to focus on when you're 3 or 4-0 down. You're just like, why is that there? It's just like...
Nobody's ever been to that burger van. Like, it can't be making a profit. There's no way. I've never seen a single person stood there waiting. So yeah, the little bits and pieces like that for sure. But I think one of the other things we need to remind ourselves of as well is that in terms of, as you say, Jeb, it's a small studio, but it's a studio that by and large is listening to its audience. It's, and there aren't many others like it that would release a game on the scale of something like a Football Manager, where that not only are they listening to, they're actively encouraging feedback from their audience, and these are things that are being taken into consideration when they're making changes to the game. We've got people like Holly, who's doing wonderful work like with the wider FM community. That is a luxury that I think player bases of other games on this scale don't get to experience. So that is something that I think we should be, generally speaking, incredibly grateful for, because we're quite lucky in that respect. And I know it's hard to feel that way sometimes when there are frustrations with a game, with anything like that. It's hard to be objective about it. But when you look at the bigger picture, we're not in a terrible set of circumstances. So again, it's the kind of thing I'm looking forward to spending more time in the match engine. I'm looking forward to spending more time, seeing how many of these changes are properly implemented, and stop it from it's when you play the game and you've been sat there for a couple of hours and you realize, actually, I've not actively noticed any of these things. They just, and it's kind of been incorporated into your general experience of how you play the game. And you're like, that's when it starts to feel nice rather than panicking. It's like, oh, there's a free kick from the edge of the area. Definitely not going to score this. Oh, I have. Oh, that's nice. You know, it's the way that you kind of, you know, look at that information you've been given from the update and stop being too overly analytical of how it affects every single highlight and every single part of the match engine. So I'm excited. Plus, I want other people to be worst at drafting, so we could potentially win some more. Hey, if anybody from the FM playoffs is watching, hey, maybe that's a stipulation. Everyone has to pick in a plug-in and play tactic from the beginning of the game and play that for an entire FM playoffs, and we'll just see what happens.
The
That's
McKinn's
why,
rule, yeah.
yes, yeah, the McKinn's ruling, and that's why nobody from the playoffs listens to my ideas for good reason. They're all horrible.
They're always listening, Rich. They're always listening.
They're always listening. They're always listening. Mozza has a key to my house now. He's not been round yet, but you're always welcome, pal. You're always welcome. There we are. So happy days. More of that kind of thing. As say, we'll be sitting back down in a couple of weeks' time to talk about, you know, the playoffs will be coming up. So it'll be really interesting to be sat here in a few weeks' time, taking these kind of factors into consideration as to how the game is played. Now, moving forwards, because we've got stuff to do today. One of us from FMT has been sent recently, as is my understanding, a nice little gift in the mail, and it's not me, and I don't think it's you, Kev.
It's
Jeb,
really not.
what have
Yeah,
you been
it
sent?
is
Nice
me.
little
Do you want me
present.
to do my save update first, though?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Let's talk save update. Actually,
I was thinking, how do I transition from this to that?
How have we? Yeah, because somebody forgot who was. It was me. I forgot.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Talk to us. Yeah. Before
If there's
we talk about
anybody out there that would like to become the host of a podcast, please send your applications.
Please, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. There's so much to remember. I'm so sleepy. Yeah. Before we talk about the post, how's Italy? How's Serie A treating you, Jeb?
So I think when you last left me, I was about resigned to staying in Serie B because various things had happened. We'd gone on a bad run of form. That kind of continued on, unfortunately, because Cindy Van Hooijdonk, so we had Van Hooijdonk and Totti up front, not from 98-99 database, the Suns were playing up front for us. Van Hooijdonk got sold. I couldn't get a contract to him in time, and he got sold. 600k minimum release, which is even more frustrating because I should have had a lot more for him. So he went. My Finnish Irish defender, I couldn't give him a decent contract, so he went as well, and I was just a bit teetering on the edge. To the point where I kind of lost my mind a bit and went into the free transfer market. And I went, what's out there? Well, look, James Milner's there. He's 40 years old. Yep, click, I'll have him. Oh, look, Roman Seiss is there. He's a central defender. He might be able to cover for O'Shaughnessy. Click, yep, I'll have him. Ooh, I need a striker. Ooh, Mario Balotelli. Let's go for him. He's not going to cause any problems at all. So we picked up him. Then we also picked up. We'd already put a transfer over him. It's really weird. I now have in the same squad 2 right wingers called Macri. So I've got a David Macri who's in the under-18s, and Juan Macri who's also 18, but he's in the first team squad, so he came in as well. He's a 6'2" winger. He's old school. I'm trying to remember the really tall West Brom winger. I can't remember what his name is. I always forget it. Tall, dreadlocks. Oh, it's going to really annoy me, but he was quite skillful on the ball. I'm going to go into my archives and remember who it is, but we'll get there. But we signed it, and they came out there, and then we hit a patch of form. So this is F.A. Keeley I signed. It was like a last-minute desperation. He has 12s at best on his attributes. He couldn't stop scoring. Like, he scored 7 goals in his first 8 games, and he just kept on. Gonzalez on the left, Diallo on the right, and then Macri coming in as well. They kept on just providing for him. He just kept on getting the end. We won 7 out of our last 10 and drew the other 3, and we finished second, and we got promoted to Serie A, which was just really unexpected. So yes, right, well, let's go, big time. And then the board came in and went, right, well done, you're in Serie A. Your transfer budget is 150k and your wage budget is 250k. And of course, all these players had lovely yearly wage rises and wage rises if they got promoted, and my wage budget was completely shot. just gone immediately. I was like, cool, I'm in Serie A. I can't spend anything. I'm stuck with the same players. And then a bid for Plazzari came in. So he was the original goalkeeper. He was 5-star potential rated. I think he'd got to 4-star. A bid came in of 4.5 million. I was like, nope, can't do that. And just went, right, asking price 10 million. And then loads of other bids came in. And whatever bid came in, the board just accepted them. Luckily, Genoa came in with a 10 million bid, and that was where he went. So I got 10 million in for him. I've got some money to spend. I brought in Capriel as the replacement keeper. He's almost on the same level as Plazzari. Got him for 2.4 million. Picked up the Dutch midfield Van den Boomen, so he can play defensive midfield. And I'd already arranged for a striker to come in called Guisand, who's just an effective pressing forward. So he came in as well. And that's how, and Atal in at right back, but he's not been great. He's not been playing or anything. We got Serie A, we started well. We won our first game. Then we drew our second game. Then we played Sassuolo and we beat them. And then we got to transfer deadline day, and I was like, my central defence is slightly creaky and worrying here because there's nobody like outstanding. There's no leader at the back here. And also, these guys are coming in with poor ratings. So I tried to get one on transfer deadline day. I went to the board. I'd actually missed an email from the board where they say, oh, no, you can't have the wage budget. So I couldn't even argue. I missed that. So I got transfer deadline day. Tried to shuffle a few players around. Tried to sell some. Got a little bit of money in to spend, but didn't get enough in. And I had this central defender all lined up. I was like, right, come on, get out the door. This player just needs to leave. And we would have been fine. This one could have had a central defender in. It would have been, and it didn't work. But then an agent offer came in. And you know where the agent offer comes in? The only thing that drew my eyes to it was a striker. He was in Argentina. And it just said, he's the next Gabriel Batistuta. And I was like, right, drop everything. I'm going for him. I'm getting him right now. So we brought in this Cavallaro. He came in. We didn't get the central defender. After the first game, after the transfer deadline day, we played Inter Milan. We went 1-0 up after 2 minutes. Everyone was going crazy. And then Martinez scored. And then Martinez scored again. And then Martinez scored again. Then 4 other players scored again. And we lost 7-1. And that creaky defence, I had a 5.3 one of my central defenders got. I don't think I've seen a rating worse than that. I'd already hauled off one of them and the other defensive midfielders. It just wasn't working. So we paid the punishment on there. I then went to look at Cavallaro and I went, oh, what a player. Let's have a look at him. A little bit more. He's got the worst personality trait. Because you don't put them onto original players because they can't put negative personality traits onto any players just in case they get sued or anything along those lines. He's a mercenary. just like, oh no. So we didn't get the central defender. We then played. Just double check. Sorry, I need to go back because I had it right in front of me. And we then played Parma, and we beat them 3-1 immediately playing Inter. Then we played Juventus, and we went 2-1 up against them, and they only won 3-2. And we beat Verona, so we started off quite positively. I mean, 4 wins out of the first 6 games was good. Then we played Fiorentina, went 1-0 up against them, and then we lost 6-2. The central defenders completely fell apart again. And then we kept on going ahead in games, and then we were either losing or drawing them. And I think we just beaten Torino. And just after we beat Torino, I went back to the board and went, hi, please give me some money. Please, just transfer budget. They increased the wage budget by 120k and they increased the transfer budget by 250k, which is just perfect because I have now signed, ready for January, coming in, Schlotterbeck.
Wow.
Not Nico Schlotterbeck,
Okay.
Kevin Schlotterbeck, his brother, who also plays central defence. And he literally is. I compared Nico and Kevin, and it's just like, we've got Schlotterbeck at home. That's basically what I bought.
Nice.
So, Amad Diallo's had a massive falling out with me as well because just the 4 went out the window. We lost or drew like 6 or 7 games in a row. We're still 11th. I mean, I think the perfect way to not get relegated, that's what we're going to end up doing, is just to keep getting a point a game, and we're above that at the moment. So we'll keep pushing on. Hopefully we'll still be in Serie A next season, and then we can see We know Verratti's around, and we know Insignia's around to be picked up. So maybe finally bring one of those legends back. Immobile did score a hat-trick against us, because of course he did. At 37 years old, he's still scarily good. So that's where we're up to with that. And I had some posts this week, Rich.
No. Hang on a second. There is still one thing I need you to tell us all about.
Yes.
There is one thing.
I didn't rage
Offside
quit on Thursday. Yeah, I didn't rage quit on Thursday at all. I just left and thought, oh, Rich is on. I'm going to send my viewers there because I need a rest from this hour and a half stream that I've put on in the background.
It was literally 2 minutes after I'd left Rich's stream to come and check yours out for a little while, and you rage quit and sent me back to Rich. I thought, I can't get rid of him.
Yeah, so the Fiorentina game, like I said, we went 1-0 up. We actually brought it back to 2-2, and then they went 3-2 up. And then just before half time, Moise Keane was on just by the byline, crosses it in, and Simeone puts it in. And I go, hang on, that didn't look right. And VAR checked it, and VAR went goal. And then it showed the goal, and Simeone was about 6 yards offside. Like... I put a screenshot on my Twitter.
That might be a slight exaggeration, but
okay then. Sorry, 5 yards offside.
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Yeah. But yeah, so the ball was played in. The line. To be fair, the lines were about that far apart. It's even showing it offside, but it still counted. And we saw this in the path to the playoffs last week, and I've seen it. I think I saw it again in my favour while I was playing last night as well. There is a worry. There is something they might need to patch there because those VAR decisions are becoming dodgier and dodgier. But I am playing in the Italian league, so
must be said. But yes, it was an incredible moment. It was an incredible decision, and it was an incredible reaction from one Jebaru. Now you can move on to your post of this week because I've sufficed on offside gate. It's fine.
Yeah, I've had some post, have you, Jeb? Good night, everybody. I don't want to talk about it now. Hey, Jeb, have you had some posts this week?
Yeah, I have. So a company a couple of weeks ago followed me on Instagram, and I think they followed former host Tony Jameson as well. They're basically a card company. They made a game. They got a Kickstarter going. They're called the Football Game Co. You can find them on Twitter and Instagram. I'm sure we'll put links in the podcast description, etc. So they released this card game. They sent me a sample of 50 cards. And the way the cards work, it's basically list off. So for audio viewers, the cards are very similar to like Cards Against Humanity or something along those lines. They list off a subject, and then they give you can play the game several different ways. You can play around the table, which we'll probably do like Eliminator type of thing. You can do you've got to challenge yourself to name as many of the answers in as many seconds, and then challenge back and forth, or you can do head-to-heads along that. It's like I said, it's an exciting game. It's something that it's one of those games where you played it in the pub or you played it with friends and stuff like that. It's like, name teams that have played in blue in the Premier League or something along those lines. You go back and forth and do those answers. It's kind of formalizing that game and just giving it a bit of structure. And it's quite an exciting game. I think Tony's played it a few times on stream, on his streams, and their Kickstarter's going really well. And they've got a couple of footballers involved as well to play it. I know they're doing a brewery day in Loughborough on Wednesday, so they're doing like a live version of it as well. But I figured we could play it. Say we. You and Kev can play it against each other. So I picked out a few cards so we can start. So it's very simple. I'll give you the subject. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Well, I'll give you a couple of seconds to think, and then it'll just go back and forth until somebody gets the wrong answer or somebody can't think of an answer. I think that's
Don't worry, Rich
way.
will be done in 3 minutes. We'll be fine.
Yes, we're going to be fine. We're going to be absolutely fine.
The first one's not got a lot of answers to it. The second one's got a lot of answers to it, and the third one's got exactly 20 answers to it. So,
right,
yes, okay. I'll go with number one, and we'll start with Rich because you're there.
Quite right.
Yeah. Right. Teams Mark Hughes has managed.
What about them? Oh, I've got to name them, haven't I? I
Yes.
knew that. I knew that really. I was
Sure.
trying to do a
You
funny.
can do.
Okay.
Yeah. Any team. This is, by the way. Just
Okay.
in case.
Teams Mark Hughes has managed. I'm sure Mark Hughes has managed Blackburn Rovers.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
Kev.
This could be very quick. Who knows? Southampton?
Yep.
Well done, Kev. I'm so, quick disclaimer here.
Jed, how many are there, just out of interest?
How many are? There are 8.
Okay.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Again, quick disclaimer for a man whose streams over the last few weeks have essentially just become massive trivia nights. I feel like I should be doing better at this. Was Mark Hughes briefly at Man City?
Yep.
Oh, that was going to be the next one I was going to use. Right. We're clutching at straws already, I think, on this one a little bit.
There's a fair few big teams out there. A really big one, actually.
Okay. Really big one.
No pressure. No pressure.
There's lots of pressure, and I
So
can
much
feel
pressure.
I can feel the viewers switching off as
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here.
5,
You know.
4.
Okay.
3.
Thank you.
2.
Yep.
1.
Chelsea.
No.
No.
Oh,
I
no.
had no idea. And I know that I'm going to know these when you tell me them, because this is how quizzes work all the time.
Yeah, the really big one was Wales. It's quite a country-sized team.
Fair. I wasn't sure whether we're doing clubs or not, but I
So
hadn't even
wait,
thought about
yeah, I was going to say international, but I think it'd be really obvious if I said international. That's why I didn't want to say international clubs. He started at Wales, Blackburn Rovers, City, Fulham, QPR, Stoke, Southampton, and he's now at Bradford.
Yeah.
Kind of forget about the
There's
Bradford one anyway.
at least a couple in there that the Stoke specific I should have known. Should have been able to recall that one. But yeah, there's some interesting clubs in that, some slightly obscure ones, I think, but fair play to him.
Right.
I absolutely would have said Chelsea next, by the way, Kev, if you hadn't said it. I absolutely
don't know why.
I would, because it just makes sense in my head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this one has lots of answers, and I'll do the visual side of things, but it's oh, is it going to work? Yeah. Players to have more than 50 caps for France. Start with you, Kev.
50 caps for France. Okay. Deschamps.
I have to consult with us. Yes, that's correct. He's 103.
103. That's nearly twice as many as he needed to qualify for this question. Hugo Lloris.
Yep, number 1 on the list, 145.
There we go.
Zidane.
108.
Paul Pogba.
Pogba. Yep, 91.
Henry.
123.
Well, that's lots, isn't it? That's a very, very.
This could
large
go on
number
for a
of caps.
while, I think.
Couldn't it though? Couldn't it?
Yeah.
We've got the potential to drag this out enormously, haven't we? Olivier Giroud.
Olivier Giroud. Yep, number 4, 120.
Desailly.
Say 116.
Oof. God, why was I about to say? My brain was like, Rich, say Graham Lasso. It'll be funny. Say Graham Lasso. It'll be really, really funny. And I was like,
good way to end it quickly.
If my brain's telling me that, it must be real. Richard's brain hates him. N'Golo Kante.
N'Golo Kante. Sure, he's going to be on here. This is where I'm going to have to use the search function just to double check. 53. Ooh, skirting close.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Laurent Blanc.
Blanc, yep, he's on there.
Fabien Barthez.
Yep, 87.
Patrick Vieira.
Yeah, 107.
Oof. David Trezeguet.
Trezeguet. 71.
Mbappe.
68.
Already? That doesn't seem.
I know.
God, the passage of time is terrifying, isn't it?
I
He's
know,
only
exactly.
5. Yeah.
66
Lizarazu.
that was, sorry, just to say. Yes, he is on there. Yep, 97.
Who was that one?
Somebody
Sorry,
was
I missed that.
Lizarazu, that was.
Oh yeah, I was
This
going
is
to say him in a little while.
This is where it gets interesting because it's now remembering who you've said.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Petit.
Yep. He's on there.
Oh, that's a very good shout. It's frustrating because it's probably where I was going to go next. Okay, name a French player because there are loads that we haven't said already. God damn it. Lilian Thuram?
Yep, he was the only one over 100 he hadn't got so far.
Hey.
142.
Karim Benzema.
97.
Oof. Now all I can think of are modern day players who are permanently injured, so aren't going to be on that list. All right, I'm going to gamble on a relatively recent one. Kingsley Coman.
Oh, point to Kev. 46 caps for Kingsley Coman. There we are.
There we go.
Wow.
There we go. I've missed a lot of very obvious ones there, but I just...
Gallas, Yorkayev, Ribéry, Evra, Malouda, Perez, Platini, Makalele.
Yeah, my next one was going to be Platini.
Yep, he was on there anyway. So point to Kev. So comes down to the final one, and maybe my camera will focus on it. Is it going to? No, it's thinking about it. Has this focus thing, but it's supposed to. Current managers in the Premier League.
Start with Kev, would you like to go first?
Yeah. Okay. So let's go. Mikel Arteta.
Yep.
Okie dokie. Graham Potter.
As of time of recording, yeah. I was going to say.
Who knows what tomorrow may bring? Who knows? Pep Guardiola.
Yep.
Jurgen Klopp.
Eric Ten Hag.
Of course you went Ten Hag, didn't you? Of course you did, because he manages that team that you support. Why can't I not only remember Premier League managers, Premier League clubs have now just all completely left my head. Well, this is embarrassing. What's the Premier League? Oh God, why can't I remember the name of any Premier League club or manager? Patrick Vieira.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go.
We've done the French players, right?
Antonio Conte.
Yep.
Yeah, because of course Conte is Spurs manager. Okay. Sean Dyche.
Eddie Howe.
Stop being so good and quick at this, Kev. Why can't I remember Premier League clubs? Okay. Spanish fella who manages the Villa, who used to manage Arsenal, who's really, really good at managing European competitions, whose name I now can't remember. No. Yeah, Kev can. Kev knows it because Kev's really clever. Oh my God, what's happened to my brain? Why won't it remember his name? Because now Unai Emery. There we go.
Okay.
Scott Parker.
No.
What?
Yeah, he's at Club Bruges. Yeah. Scott Parker got sacked at the start of the season.
Did he?
Yeah, Scott Parker's been gone for a while.
So, okay. I thought he was still at Fulham.
There's Gary O'Neill's there. Marco Silva's at Fulham. So
Well, I messed that one up completely because I had
Scott
several
Parker
others.
is managing in the Champions League currently. So there we are. So
fair
there
enough.
we are. The win
I had
goes to
so many
Rich.
others I could have gone to for that one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Came out
just
of
can't
nowhere,
remember-
Scott Parker. I was like, I've missed something like immediately.
That's really frustrating. Of course, it's Marco Silva.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that suddenly there just feels there's a lot less pressure on me now because honestly,
There are so many I could have gone for. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
honestly, I don't think at this point in time, I honestly don't know if I could name 20 Premier League clubs, let alone their managers. My brain has completely failed me, as it frequently does. But I also won, so morally,
exactly.
Well, that's
Well
slightly
done, really.
embarrassing.
actually no, I don't think I won as much as Kev lost. So
Yeah, that's very true. Do you know that? Do
Yeah.
you know the really funny thing? My wife is out at the moment. She'll be back in a little while. And one of the things that I do with her regarding football, because she's not a massive football fan, but she a couple of seasons ago wanted to learn all of the managers to all of the clubs as a thing to do during that particular season. And of course, halfway through, some of them change and it complicates things and stuff. But she got it down about 2 seasons ago. She could do it. And now, if she was playing this game, she would have beaten me in that particular round because she still has some of that going round in her head that she can still name those. And there are so many others that I could have chosen and known that they were right and just
There's so
messed
many
it
that have
up.
changed though, even in the last month or so.
Oh
like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
I mean,
So
my
many of them.
favorite rumor this week is that Chelsea are going to sack Potter and hire De Zerbi, who's taken over Potter's job at Brighton.
At Brighton.
It's just like, you've won 2 games, right? We'll have you now instead.
See,
We'll
I mean, they're not far down the road from me, and that would have been one of the ones I should have gone to next with De Zerbi because I'm fully aware of him. But yeah, just one of those random things. Okay.
Like I said,
So I might not be here next week, but
yeah. Next time the cards come out, there'll be a quick just a quick change in the hot seat in the United City household. I like that. I like that game a lot. I'm a big fan of that kind of thing.
I like the idea of it.
The pressure on your face was just amazing to watch as you were trying to think through it. But it's that time. It's the type of game you want to play with a couple of mates around, even just something over stream as well. It's a nice little challenge.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think it'll do really well. I think the time pressure one as well. Like we were a bit nice on that one, where Rich was just like a deer in headlights for that. But there is the challenge of like say how many you can name in 10 seconds or a minute or something like that. So there's different ways you can play.
Well, I will demand a rematch at some point and try and get my credibility back again at some point. But for now, I'll take it on the chin and just say that was a weird one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was what a way to what a way to end that game. That was brilliant fun. That is. I will say now officially that is not the last time that game will be making an appearance on this podcast. I love that, even though it didn't look like it for the audio listeners. Good. Well, you've made the right choice this week. That's all I'm saying. For people watching this on YouTube or Patreon, that is the true face of fear. So there we go. Also, really interestingly, just before we press record, Jeb has asked me for the footage, kind of pre-edit for different reasons. I have a feeling that Rich's face of fear might be making an appearance.
As a YouTube show, it's just going to be 40 seconds of that and no sound at all. Have
you ever wondered what an existential crisis looks like? Because it happened today. Football trivia caused Rich to completely just disassociate. It was brilliant fun.
All I'll say is I can win debates. When are we bringing them back?
Never. We now fight via the medium of trivia, Kev. That's how it happens on this podcast. That's how we.
There's a lot more French players on that list. I mean, if people want to go and have a go at naming them in comments or various things, they can go for it. Please don't cheat though. Don't be horrible like that.
Exactly. Don't use the internet apart from to watch or listen to this podcast.
I was going to say, yeah, on the YouTube comments, we can have our own version of the eliminator below it, and we'll just eliminate somebody when they get it wrong.
Is that members of the podcast? Or
yeah, exactly.
Because I'm in trouble.
Mhm. Kev's intro,
Yeah.
exactly. No, it's great. What a brilliant game that is. I say we'll put all the links to their Kickstarter and all the other information in the description for podcast as well. So
I think you and I are going to have to get a pack of these, though, Rich, each, so we can bring Jeb into that at some point. So we'll have to work on that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we'll definitely get involved with that. So links will be down in the description of the podcast if you want to get involved yourselves. But what a brilliant bit of kit that is. I like that a lot. I've got a lot of time for it, and long may it continue. Well, on that basis, I mean, I don't think this can improve for me in any way, shape, or form this week. So I don't know how you fellas feel, but I reckon that's probably a podcast.
I don't feel I've got the gravitas to say so anymore, but okay, if you say so.
Sure.
Wonderful. Sure. Yeah. Why not? So in terms of things we are doing moving forwards, if you are watching this on Monday afternoon, if you're watching this on the Patreon, why not come and hang out with us on Monday evening? Because this coming Monday is going to be the return of the FMT network save. We're very, very excited. Again, if you enjoyed me just looking terrified then, imagine how terrified I'm going to look when we boot up the save and I forget everything that's happened previously and the mess I've probably left myself in. So Monday night, 7 p.m, we will be hopping back aboard the network save train, and I can't wait to get started. Obviously, listening to this on Monday or Tuesday next week, you'll know that podcasts have now gone 2-0 in Sunday evening's FMT versus the community draft. Mad Scientist Retro Database. We're all going to have a lovely time hanging out with some really, really great people from the FM community, playing some Football Manager, and having a very, very, very silly conversation, because that's exactly what happened last time, and long may that continue. Obviously, one of us won. In your face,
obviously.
community.
Yeah, bring it.
Try
Come
harder,
on.
community.
Try harder.
Yeah. We'll take on all comers.
I'm not going to let you win this time, Rich. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, if I lose, so you can. If I walk, so you can run, Jeb. That's absolutely fine. Not a problem in the slightest. Jeb, before we go, if people would like to find you making that sweet content online and definitely not rage quitting, where can they find you doing it?
Twitch.tv/Jebaroo, Twitter /the Jebaroo. Obviously, the playoffs is this week. I'll be directing and putting it all together in the back. Also, a thank you this week. The views on YouTube and likes and various other things have been really good. Please keep that up. Please share this. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, please click that subscribe button. You get all of our content as it comes out, and obviously the Patreon as well. I think we are looking to make some Patreon content soon, if I'm correctly, Rich.
Yes, this is very, very, very correct. Very correct. Patreon content is going to be kicking off over the next month or so. So again, patreon.com/FMT pod is where you can get all of this, get early access, extra episodes, and you'll just be helping us out loads, because, you know, the money that we make from Patreon goes back into the making of podcasts. So please feel free to get stuck in. Kev, where can the people find you making that sweet content?
Yes, you can find me at the United City FM, both on Twitter and Twitch. I'm on Twitch every weekday afternoon, 3 till 5 p.m. Well, pretty much every weekday afternoon. Occasionally there's a break for one reason or another. And you can find me there. Come and join us on my route home from Ukraine to England in our Homeward Bound series. And yeah, as has already been said, please continue to support the content. We really love making it, but it's great to have the engagement from the community. So let us know what you think and feel about it. Ask us a question if you've got a question, all those kind of good stuff. And don't forget the playoffs this week, because they are awesome.
100% agree. 100% agree. As for me, twitch.tv/RichOwensFM, at RichOwensFM on Twitter. And again, yeah, we just to reciprocate, just to reiterate what's just been said, we massively value your feedback. We appreciate, as Jeb said, the numbers on YouTube have been brilliant this week. So thank you for your continued support of podcasts. We appreciate each and every one of you, especially you. Especially, I'm just talking to you now, especially you. Nobody else listened to this, just you. We really, really like you. You're great. So thank you. Genuinely, thank you, everybody. This has been great fun. I love my Saturday mornings. I love them so much. Thank you once again for joining us for another episode of Football Manager Therapy. And we will see you on the next one. You take care. Love you lots. Bye-bye.